All right, welcome to the last video in our multiplying fractions series. Don't forget that you can pause or rewind if you get behind. You're going to need your notes that were given out in class and some writing utensils. So let's get started. Let's look at the problem 4 1/3 times 2 1/4. Well, what does this problem mean? This means that we're going to repeat the amount 2 1/4 4 whole times and a partial amount of 1/3. So let's take a look at what this looks like. We're going to draw our 4 1/3. We're going to draw our 2 1/4. 4, the denominator 4 tells me that 4 make a whole. So here's 1, 2, and then I need to draw that 1/4. So I'm going to do that by shading it in. So there's my 2 1/4. I've represented it one time. I still need to represent it 3 more times so that I have 4 whole times that this is represented. All right, so I'm going to shade it in so that each of these represents 2 whole and 1/4. As you can see, I have done this 4 whole times, but I still need to figure out what it's going to look like for 1/3 of 1. So I'm going to count how many blocks I have because now I'm taking 1/3 of just my shaded section. Just my shaded section. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need to take 1/3 of 9. That worked out nice and cleanly. What's 1/3 of 9? Well, it's going to be 3. So for my 1/3 amount, I'm still going to redraw this, but this time I'm only going to shade in 3 boxes. Again, we're not finding 1/3 of what would have been all 3 of them. We're finding 1/3 of only our shaded amount. And 1/3 of our shaded amount turned out to be 3 boxes. Each of these were 9/4. And 1/3 of 9 is 3. So 3/4 is going to be what we're going to shade in here. All right, so how many total boxes are shaded in? Well, if each of these are 9, then 9 times 4 is 36, 37, 38, 39. I have 39 1/4 pieces, or 39/4. So go ahead, if you want to double check, go ahead and count each box that is shaded in to double check that we have 39/4. So now we want to consolidate this to find out what would our mixed number be for this. So I think I'm going to take these 3 that are kind of hanging out here and take them in my head, and they're going to fill in this one. So that's going to go to there, this one's going to go here, this last one's going to go there. So in my head, I now see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because these 3 filled it in. 9 whole, and then I have 3/4. So I get 9 and 3/4. All right, Well, what is this going to look like on a number line? This is again one of those problems where we're going to need to extend our number line because what we have here is just not quite enough. So I think I'm going to draw it down here. And I'm going to try and kind of line up my marks with the number line above. Okay, so now my number line, I'm going to start at 0. 4, make a hole. So I'm going to leave a space for 4 and then put each of my whole numbers. I could also choose to write this all out with fraction pieces and going into improper fractions once I pass one whole. That works too. Maybe we'll go back and put that in. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, this is going to be one whole. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 2 whole, 1, 2, 3, 3 whole, 1, 2, 3, 4 whole, 1, 2, 3, 5 whole, 1, 2, 3, 6 whole. Here's where it gets tricky. 1, 2, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 9, 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness, I put just enough on here. 10. Squeeze it in over there at the end. All right, hopefully yours, maybe you have a few more marks than I do. Looks like I just made it. Okay. I know that this is going to be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. That's 4/4 is one whole. 5, 9/4, 10/4, 11/4, 12/4 is 3 whole, and so on. So go ahead and fill in the rest of yours with me with our improper fractions. Okay, are you with me? Does your paper look like mine? If you're still writing your numbers, go ahead and press pause, and I'll wait for you to finish. Okay, so how am I going to count on here? Well, I know that each of these is going to be 9/4 because I showed it up here. So my first option is that I could count by 9/4 pieces for 4 whole, and then a third of that will give me my last little bit. So this is one option. So 1 18/4 gives me 2. I'm going to kind of go off the page here. 27/4 gives me 3. 36/4 gives me 4. And then since 9/4, what's a third of 9/4? Well, that's going to be 3/4. All right, so that's 3 halves. So now I can go and do my 3/4, and that gives me my 4 whole and a third. Okay, so that's one way of doing the problem. And maybe you like going by 9/4. You can also look at it as I'm going by 2 and 1/4. So here's 1 whole, 2 whole, and then here's a 4th. So each of these is also 2 and a fourth, if you want to count it that way. I could also just take care of my whole numbers first. So I could go 2, 4, 6, 8, then do my 1/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do my third of it. 1, 2, 3 for my third. My third of this amount. That will work as well. But so as not to complicate it, we're going to leave it at this for now. Is there a shortcut? Absolutely. Is it probably going to be way better than writing out all these fourth pieces? Definitely. See if you can figure it out. Next problem is 1 2/6 times 2 3/4. Well, I already see that there's some simplifying that I could do here. I could take 1 2/6. What's that going to be in as a simplest fraction? Yeah, that's going to be 1 1/3. I want to use as low a numbers as I possibly can. So I'm going to do 1 1/3 times 2 3/4. So what is that going to look like? I'm going to take the amount, 1 1/3. I'm going to repeat it 2 times, and 3/4 of another. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that out. My 1 1/3. So 3 make a whole, excuse me. So there's 1, and this is where my third is going to be. I'm going to do that 2 whole times. I'm doing the easy part. Okay, so 1 whole and a third. 1 whole and a third. So I've done the easy part. I've done it 2 times. Now I need to figure out what 3/4 of this is going to be. So over on the side, I'm going to say finding 3/4. So I'm going to redraw this. Well, how many pieces do I have? I have 4 pieces. I have 4 thirds. So 3/4 is going to be this amount. This is 3 out of 4 shaded pieces. So for my 3/4, for that one, I only have to draw 1 whole piece. Again, it is 3/4 of the shaded region. 3/4 of the shaded region. It just so happened that I had 4 pieces in my shaded region, so therefore I have 3 of them that are being colored in. So what does that give me? Well, I have 1, 2, 3 whole, and this one moves up there. I have 3 2/3. Each of these was 4 thirds. Well, how can we put this on a number line? Let's start with 0, and I'm going to count by 1/3 pieces on my number line. Okay, so I've taken this from 0 to 4. So I have a couple options. I can count by 4 thirds for 2 of them, and then figure out what 3/4 of that is to do my last little bit. Or I could count by my wholes and do 1 whole, 2 whole, then do my third pieces, and then figure out the 3/4. But I think that one's going to be a little more complicated. So I think what I'm going to do is there's 1 whole, one set, 4 thirds. 8/3 makes 2 sets, okay? So this is 1 set, this is 2 sets. I need to find what 3/4 of a set would be. Well, a whole set, this is 1 set, so 3/4 of it is going to be here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in a set. So this is 3/4 of the set. And I see that that is the same as 1 whole. So, and 1 whole being 3/3. So I'm going to skip 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. So this gives me 11/3. Well, let me confirm up here that I have 11 1/3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 1/3 pieces. So my answer is both 3 2/3 and 11/3. See if you can find a shortcut to make this a little bit easier. Finally, we have a problem for you to try. So go ahead, try this problem. We will go over the answer tomorrow. That includes doing the shortcut for the problem as well. Next up, we will be looking at dividing fractions.